Hello and welcome to This Naked Chat, a podcast where six friends from different walks of life come together for honest, unscripted conversations about living alcohol-free and everything that comes with it. We all met at a live event hosted by Annie Grace of This Naked Mind in March of 2024. What started as a mastermind group with the six of us and Annie turned into some really deep friendships, filled with connection, tough conversations, and a lot of laughter. And after a year of growing and learning together, we realized that these conversations might help more than just us. So here we are, no scripts, just real talk. We are incredibly grateful to Annie and This Naked Mind for helping us get this off the ground and for the impact that her work has had on each of our lives. I am Brian, and I am joined by Corey, Agnes, Judy, Jenny, and Sammy. Let's dive in. Who wants to pick a number between 1 and 23?
23?
Yeah,
That's
Corey used the chat GPT. 14.
14.
Oh boy.
Some of them I legitimately came up with on my own, by the way.
Yeah, I can't
Brian,
read half of them.
Can you count to 14 since you had a hard time counting to 3?
Figured it out. All right, so this will be a really good one. Number 14 is lies and misinformation about alcohol.
Ooh.
This, boy.
How much time do we have?
Let's just kick it off with, huh?
How much time do we have?
I know, let's just kick it off with a great one.
Let's just get on it.
Corey, you put that in. Was that one of yours?
Maybe, yeah.
Sammy,
I wrote a bunch all at one time, so I didn't,
the topic is lies and misinformation about alcohol, Sammy.
Thank you.
And again, today we're sponsored by Olipop and Peloton. We'd like to thank the people from Olipop for sending me a case of cream soda and the people at Peloton, because Agnes mentioned it once.
For providing
Thank you.
For providing some meditation. There you go. Not exercise, but meditation.
Exactly. So, lies and misinformation about alcohol. All right. So, I tell you, I'll start with something, because I saw an Instagram post today that showed a video of or a picture of a lady without any wine, with one glass of wine, 2 glasses of wine, 4 glasses of wine, and it showed her getting like progressively happy, and the kind of caption was basically saying that, like, look how much happier she is with 4 glasses of wine. And I wanted to put some snarky ass comment out there on, like, what would just happen if she didn't and she just smiled. Because that's all she was doing. It's like, and they're like, we need this to be happy or to be, I don't know, like ourselves. And I'm like, no, absolutely 100% we do not. And it's just shit like that I want to comment and be like, did the alcohol industry like write this?
Mm-hmm. And that's the sad part, right? Is they don't even have to, because as much as like the lies and misinformation, of course, perpetrated by the industry itself, but like we do it to ourselves. Like we constantly do this, like lying to ourselves because we're so desperate to make it right what we're doing. And so, I said the same thing earlier today. Literally saw a social media thing where there's like these 2 women, and one of them's like reading off the nutrition facts off of like a thing of like protein powder or something, and the other one's like reading off the nutrition facts from a bottle of vodka. And, it was like fat, whatever it was in the protein, it was like 0 in the vodka, and like carbs, 0 in the vodka and whatever. And so they're like, oh, okay, I guess we should drink vodka, Yeah. So, yeah, we do it to ourselves. And, not for nothing, it's not just alcohol, right? Like we do this, it's this phenomena, right, in our brain that we want to make what we're doing right, even if we know that it's not. And so we create all of this justification and humor and whatever to, make it okay and make us feel okay with ourselves, and to try to like get that affirmation from other people. I think that's part of why like things like the social media thing come up, is that we want other people to make it feel okay to us also. So it's not even I mean, for sure the industry does it. And they have they're motivated by profit, but even for us we just have the motivation of wanting to be right. We don't even have a money motivation, and we do it to ourselves. So it's so pervasive, and it's such it's frustrating as hell, but it's also kind of an interesting phenomena that we experience as humans.
That's probably a good idea for this one, to say lies and misinformation about alcohol. Maybe not that the alcohol industry puts in, but that we tell ourselves, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both.
Right.
Or the alcohol in and of itself tells us.
Yeah, right. Right after you've ingested it, and it's lying to you the whole time. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I also think it's important to mention every single one of those ads, because they all center around "you'll feel so much happier if," and the fact that we all need to be reminded of, myself included, is that it is a fucking depressant, period. Mm-hmm. It is. That's a fact. It's a central nervous system depressant. Yes, you get a euphoria in the first 10, 20 minutes from the release of massive amounts of dopamine and serotonin. But then predictably you crash. And so you're forever, much like with, what we all learned about cocaine in grade school, you're chasing that high. Same idea. And so for that particular myth is one that really irks me, because in fact, it's a lie. That's an outright falsehood. It is a depressant, pure and simple.
And the important thing, I think, about what you just said is you're chasing it in the same drinking event. Like, it's not like not like your tolerance is growing until you're constantly chasing it over time. You're chasing it within that event. So after those first 15 minutes and it starts to trail off, the effects start to trail off, you have to drink more to continue to get the effect, and hence to not suffer the effects of the depressant part. Exactly.
And that's, that second drink and that second dopamine / serotonin release is never as high as the first.
Well, that's the same for all substances, right?
Yeah. Because those receptors are all saturated, so it can't ever be as good as it was with that first ingestion, that first sip of the evening, I should say. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
What I struggle with when again, I wouldn't say struggle with, but what frustrates me is those deep core stories and beliefs that we've been raised on. So for instance, you have upset stomach, have a shot of vodka with pepper and it's going to cure it. If you're Polish, that's what I was told. If you're, or like, I know they're Italians, they do grappa with chamomile in it, and that's going to help with the stomach. Or it's these rituals that we've been brought up through. You need to, my daughter's getting married, so it's like right first thing in the morning with the bridesmaids, you need to toast with champagne, because that's how you start off this whole, you're getting married today. And so it's like alcohol has always been a part of all of that. So it's like, you need to do these things. You're told to do it. So are we even making choices, or are we just following what society has been dictating, or our upbringing, or whatever the case may be? So it's like there's never an option that's just, this is how you do it. This is how it goes. And that's all wrong, because it doesn't fix your stomach. If anything, it numbs you. Yeah. That's all it does. Right. So you're just not paying attention to that stomach ache. That's all it is. Or what's that phrase that they say the next morning when you wake up with a hangover, have a drink? They call that. Exactly. Exactly. So again, all it is. So it's not, that's false.
Well, it works. Having done Hair of the Dog several times, it works in that you just then don't get the hangover because you just keep drinking. So you don't feel shit because you don't get the hangover.
That's exactly
But
it.
you do ultimately get it. But that's it. You're just delaying it.
Yeah. Well, but you're doing it because you want the hangover to go away. But it's not making the hangover go away medically, physically in your body. It's just numbing you. So that's that whole where it's all like that whole society culture part of it is their lies.
I think also that pervasiveness of the lies and misinformation, but also the lack of information, I find so frustrating. I was just with literally 2 women over the last couple of days, both with active breast cancer, drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just kills me. Like,
So,
isn't that the first thing your
mention this?
freaking oncologist should tell you? Stop
Yeah.
drinking.
Well, I think you
That's
hit
really
a
interesting.
really good point there, Corey. It's the lack of information because, again, what we see is the advertisements, the marketing aspect of it, how it's going to solve your problems, but the problems are all emotion-based problems, which it doesn't because we already know it's a depressant. So how is that doesn't work long term?
Well,
Yeah.
and also to Corey's point, it's a very, 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 very wealthy and powerful lobby. It just is. And I don't think people realize that either, how much control that industry has in legislators' pockets and from all parties. And
Yep.
that's also problematic and doesn't really get talked about very much.
Did we talk about to that point, Jenny, the same, the kind of similarities between the tobacco and the alcohol, when those things got released? So what was that, 1964, I think it was, when the Surgeon General came out. There was did I mention this on the last one? Like,
I think
Not the
I feel
last
like
because kind of that information, right? So in 1964, when the Surgeon General came out with that warning about tobacco, there was a study that was done, and God, what was it? It was a few years before that. 45% of the American public knew that smoking and cancer were kind of correlated, right? And then 4 years after that announcement, it was up to 78% of the public knew it. So as we talk about this education piece, alcohol, right? The Surgeon General just at the beginning of this year, 2025, released that, said, hey, this is the third leading cause of preventable cause of cancer. Next to what was it? It was asbestos and obesity, tobacco. Okay, preventable, not asbestos, right? And the number again was 44% of the American public knew that there was a correlation.
Wow.
So to your point, even Corey, the oncologist might not even know.
True that.
Right?
yeah.
And so it is an education thing. And then getting through all of those stories that we have in our heads, because when you say that shit, people are like, everything gives you cancer.
Exactly.
And
Oh my
you
God.
rationalize your own drinking. And to Agnes's point, to be at one of those functions where it's a societal norm and to say, I'm good, then they think you have some demons or whatever they want to call it, that you're battling. And I'm like, Jesus.
Well, and
Sorry, Judy, that was a bad one.
I can tell
That's
you,
my bad word.
just from my experience as a practicing physician, it's embarrassing because we've known about this potential link for at least a decade, if not longer. And then a bunch of very smart people, name your organization, American College of Cardiology, American College of Oncologists, American College of Physicians, a fucking MA, gather and have their national meetings. Okay. So 5,000 people gather in rooms to get smarter. And then they all go to dinner provided by
Sponsored by.
pharmaceutical reps who get their sponsorship from
Yep.
alcohol. And they pour the alcohol for free all night long. Drink as much as you want for physicians.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. You know what? Because that just like, I remember I was having a conversation with a professional, not in medical or anything, but this is the business world. And what they said is that basically when they're hiring for high positions, so you're looking at CEO, like all those high end positions, the final interview is actually a dinner interview because they get them buzzed, because then that's where they start talking and getting things out. So this is what they are doing to obviously to see, okay, what kind of person is this? So it's like, we're all doing it to ourselves. We're using it as a weapon.
I was just going to say, I met up with a friend of mine the other day for coffee, and she actually hasn't drunk for 3 months because of a dental problem. So she was advised by her dentist that she needs to cut out sugar completely to try and get on top of the infection. So amongst other things, she stopped drinking for 3 months, and she was saying that she's always suffered with her stomach, like for years and years and years. Used to like vomit quite often, and before she go to bed, had really bad acid and all these things. And I've been to the doctors over the years and been tried all sorts of pills and potions, and nothing ever really worked. Where she's stopped drinking for 3 months, it's completely gone.
Wow.
And yet a doctor never suggested to her, do you drink, and perhaps maybe try to stop drinking for a while and see if that helped. Never even entered her head to suggest it. And she's only done it because of her dental and gone, whoa, it's just completely gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I mean, to that point, and we see this with a lot of the behavior change, like you have to almost, it's why I am a big fan of kind of taking a break of some sort, because you have to sort of notice those sort of results happening.
True.
My like health markers, I dropped ridiculously just from quitting drinking. Like, I'll have to show those sometimes, but it was like in the 6 months that I kind of took a break, like my biomarkers improved, like to where it was, I mean, I was perfectly healthy. I was off everything. It was ridiculous. But you don't notice those things until you give yourself that pause.
Right.
And it probably has to be longer, like Sammy said, than a 30 days.
Well, we have a lot of people that come into the rehab and they've got high blood pressure, and I'm like, well, let's get your detox done and get you off the alcohol before we just chuck you on blood pressure medication, because the reality is it will drop, and you probably don't need
that. Was my biggest one. Exactly. That was the biggest one for me.
So for me, that went different. So for me, it was a different experience because my body, as a drinker, I was healthy as healthy can be. Like, it was just like, I was shocked. I was expecting them to tell me when I was doing all my blood work, like, you've got all these things that are wrong with you. Meanwhile, nothing was wrong with me. I always had low blood pressure, but that wasn't an issue. But when I took my break, because I took a 5-month break, then I started for 3 months. And that's when I realized, okay, this is not for me. But my mental health changed drastically. So my body was okay, but it was my mental health that the alcohol affected it so bad that I realized how badly it was. So it doesn't even have to be your physical health, if although it affects it for sure. But in my instance, it was the mental health that it totally changed. And I've been mentally the healthiest I've ever been, probably my whole life.
I think that's a really good point, because a lot of people for anxiety, don't they? People drink thinking it reduces their anxiety. And we kind of know more that it's a depressant. That's been said for quite a long time now, but nobody talks about the fact that it is literally like pouring petrol on the fire for your anxiety. Massively.
Yeah. But it was decision making. It was just the basic day-to-day stuff that I could not, I would have never thought that whole fact of having alcohol in my system was causing that for me. because like from being clear to all of a sudden I'm drinking, and my drinking was not every day. My drinking was on the weekends. I was going to treat myself because it was the summer and, you know, you're out on the boat and you're with everybody. But that just induced the whole week. Then it's like, I can't even figure out, like I've said, I can't even figure out what to make for dinner. It's stressing me. Mm-hmm. It was just everything. And I would have never linked the two together if I didn't take that break and I realized the benefits of it. And now I see how it is.
I think you see that to that point, even what Sammy's saying is the anxiety and the things that you're using it to alleviate get worse, right? So like I'm anxious, so I drink and it calms it for a while, but I never deal with that root cause. So you just then wake up with the same anxiety, but it's worse because now you're shaming yourself from drinking. Mm-hmm. And that's that cycle that we talk about, right? For me, it felt like this cyclical, like living in a fog, right? Like I was just stuck. And even though I knew that probably, hey, this little thing right here, just this alcohol is causing this cycle, I didn't want to quit it because of all these stories that I had told myself of what it was doing for me, right? It was helping me be social. It was helping me be less anxious. It was helping me relax at the end of the day, sleep.
Be funny.
All of those, right?
Well, that's like being majorly depressed, right?
Sure.
I'm majorly depressed. I want to numb out. And people say, oh, don't you know it's a depressant? I don't care. It's helping me. All that's happening is you're just getting more and more depressed. It's crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy.
What were the biggest lies that you were telling yourselves? Like,
I'm depressed and it's helping me. I don't care what you say.
Was that yours?
I mean, that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was definitely as convinced as I could be that it relaxed me and made the stress of the day go away. Yeah. What I never connected was, it did. And I fell asleep and then I woke up at 2 a.m. every God blessed night. 2 a.m., crawling out of my skin because I was so anxious. Why? Oh yeah, the cortisol surge, but I never ever made that connection, ever. I just thought I was anxious.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jenny. That was my biggest one. That and just it helped me sleep, which it didn't. Just helped me pass out.
I mean, those are the ones we hear most commonly, right? Relax, sleep, anxious, depressed. This helps. Mine was the social side of it. Like I never drank at home. I always would go to a bar because that's where I was lonely, and I was like, this is how to solve it is I go drink with these people. But then you realize, after you stop that, man, those conversations were also superficial, and there's so much more meaning to it once you give it up,
For
those
me,
friends, most of them don't, very few of them are in my life anymore.
Right.
For me, especially in those days, well, and now, I was a very passionate cook, and a really good cook, actually. So I would have people for dinner and make fancy doodle multi-course meals and all of that. And I was certain that wine made food taste better. I mean, that was another one that for me, that was gospel truth.
Or you'd go grocery shopping, you'd find your favorite bottle of wine. You feel like drinking this tonight. Now I'm going to do this menu for these friends, right? Yeah, I did the same thing. Yep.
And in fact, it actually numbs your taste buds. So you can't taste the food as well. And that was something that for me, my palate now is pretty keen. And I always thought I had a pretty good palate before, but my palate is just like, it's sometimes frustrating. But yeah, that was something for me that also was a dramatic difference.
Well, first of all, Jenny, you're cooking for us next time. You just signed up. I don't know if you realize that, but you just signed up for cooking for us. But I was so miserable inside, so unhappy that I didn't like the person I was. So when I had the alcohol, when I had that wine, I just loved that person. because now I'm happy. Now I'm smiling. Now I'm not so serious. Now I'm not like, you kids are doing this wrong. Like everyone's, no, now it's like everyone could do whatever the hell they want. Free for all. Now I'm dancing. I'm partying. I'm social. I'm talking to people. And I just felt like that's who I wanted to be. And I didn't know how to be that without the alcohol. So that's why I love to drink.
Yeah, 100. I'm totally with you. I identify with all of that. Exactly. And I didn't even have like a consistent lie or justification. I'd use whatever one was convenient. Like, like it was a justification to feel different. It was, whatever, like literally it would be justification for me to like watch a fictional character who was functioning, drinking. That literally was like justification in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, on Frankie and Grace, they freaking drink like, fish, and they're look how cool they are. Oh my God, I totally want to be those gals.
Well, she doesn't drink anymore, does she, Jane Fonda? She doesn't actually drink.
No, but I mean, like on the show, I mean, literally, I would use like fictional shit to like justify this whole thing in my mind. Like, but also I would use it to like beat myself up. Like, why do I feel like such shit? Why am I such an asshole? These people are all doing so well. They're everybody's so successful and whatever. And, what's wrong with me? Why can't I keep my shit together and, drink martinis all day long?
Or if you're a musician. If you're a musician, I can play a guitar like crazy when I'm hammered, or I could blow the horn like crazy when I was hammered. Never worry about rhythm and stuff. It just naturally, right? You don't think about it.
And how many writers, right, or any like creative person has used booze as or drugs of any kind, really? Yeah.
Belly up to the family bong, mama. You can write those tunes. Yep.
It's pretty magical to ease stage fright. Let me tell you.
For sure.
I know. Been there, done that.
Yep.
So what? I've seen your words out backwards. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I also think for me there's an element, because my brain never switches off, so it wasn't so much numbing necessarily from feelings I didn't want to feel. It was just trying to switch it off a bit.
So do you think so I think, and Agnes hit on a really big one, like almost you're not happy or like, I heard something like, and this is where I've come to be, is like, I didn't like love the person I was at that time. So I wanted to portray this other person that sort of awareness is really hard, right? How's that work, right? To be like, oh, this is it. I mean, because that didn't happen for me until after I quit. And I'm like, oh, man, there's a lot more to me than that. But I don't know how to recognize that big of a gap at that time, because that's like
that's interesting, Brian. Because I was thinking the biggest lie, which I didn't even know I was telling myself, was I love drinking.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it. I can't not drink. That's what I do. That's what I love to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, absolutely, that was true as the skies blue.
It's like you're living in this, like this variation of yourself that is made up of all of the stories you've been told that you're supposed to be. And maybe that's what that realization is like coming to be like, hey man, I've been living like this, like the way that everyone has told me or the way that I thought I had to for so long, and I'm miserable still. Something has to change.
Yeah.
That's what mine kind of was. Is like, something is wrong because I've checked all the boxes, right? Yeah. I'm successful. I was married at one point. All of those things that people had said that I was supposed to do, I had done, and I was still not happy when I really got to the heart of it, right?
No, that's so true. I mean, I think that's why a lot of us drink, right? Is because we are doing what we should be doing.
Right.
Yep.
And we're not only, displeased with those things, but like we're hating ourselves because we don't like what we're supposed to be, liking, right? Like by every measure of success, I have it, and none of that is pleasing me. So what the hell's wrong with me that I'm not pleased by all of those things? And then also, if I don't love these things that I'm supposed to be loving, well, what the hell do I love? Or what the hell am I supposed to be? And that's scary as shit to contemplate. So, I think I'll just go ahead and not think about any of these things and have a cocktail.
Yeah.
Like a dog chasing the tail.
Yep. That's right.
Well, I mean, that's what keeps you stuck, right? Because, that's such a big thing to say, I'm not happy, I need to do something about it. But the thing that's blocking you, not the only thing, probably. Yeah, God.
Yep. But Gabon Malte talked about, doesn't he, about the you can't really escape pain completely in life, and you can have the sort of the short-term pain of, because for a lot of people it's acceptance, so that short-term pain of not going along and being what everybody wants you to be to get the liberation, as opposed to not being who you really are, and which actually just cause longer-term suffering.
Yeah.
Well, and if you started young as well, right? If you grew up in a culture where alcohol is everywhere, you don't even have the opportunity to figure out who you are, because all you are is like, oh, I get to have a gin and tonic today. Oh, I get to sneak alcohol out of mom and dad's cabinet.
Yep.
So because you're in that culture, you even understanding even close to who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or how to deal with the emotion involved with it. Mm-hmm.
Right, because when we drink and we numb ourselves out, right, our emotional development just stops. Yep, stunts, and then we have to start all over again. So when you stop drinking in the mid-40s, you're like, shoot, here I am, 10 years old. Yoo-hoo, I get to learn that quick, don't I?
Yeah.
You got 30 years to catch up on. Yeah.
And then you realize it didn't make you a better dancer.
Yeah, it did, exactly.
What do you all think about, one thing that I was just thinking about, I think Sammy mentioned this, but this the idea of a pink cloud, I think is what it's called, right? Like this after you stop drinking, everything changes, and it becomes like, and it is like for a while, right? I think you quit drinking, we heard that like physical health can improve pretty quickly, the mental health, the clarity especially, comes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But then you start to come to terms with, like for me, I'm bored as shit. And I have to sit with these feelings now because I lost my biggest coping mechanism. Yep. And that's to me where that pink cloud goes away, and you have to do the actual work, like Sammy mentioned with Gap, where it's like, okay, so it's not all like, quitting drinking is not like easy. Right?
Yeah. And some people can get a pink cloud, and then they're like, why haven't I got a pink cloud? People talk about a pink cloud, and I haven't got one. Yeah. So it's not a guarantee. We're different.
But there again, Brian, if you look at the whole concept of you never knew who you were to begin with, right?
Exactly.
And then now you take away, well, this is how I've learned my identity. I identify as somebody who drinks, and I get along with all these people, and we drink, and this is what we do, and this is what we do. And then boom, exactly not only do you have to reckon with your own self, like, wow, that's not at all who I thought I was. You also have to reckon with, holy moly, there's nobody in my sphere now that understands me.
Yes.
That's a huge
and so
one.
It's huge, right? Yeah. And I mean, that's the hardest part when people start doing substance, right? It's like now you have to find your birds, the birds with your feathers. And that's super, super hard because you're scared because you don't know who you are. And anybody critiques you, you can be super hypersensitive. Hello. And but it's crazy because you have to figure out all these things. You have to figure out all that's going on inside you, and you can't just go numb out.
Yeah. The thing I found was, like, even if you're just in total dysfunction, right? Like, everything about your life is not working, and that you got to do something different. It's still what you know, right? It's still comfortable, even if it's total dysfunction. And so now you're faced with this prospect of, doing something that you don't know. And oh, by the way, it's not even just a something. It's like a whole world. I mean, it's not just like, oh, you're going down this path or this path. No. It's like you have to let things be, and you have to like figure out, and it's like these little fits and starts, and it's all this like letting yourself, feel whether you like this or don't like this, or and they're like, it's just so unknown, and it's just so
and that's where the mastery of sitting in discomfort comes. Right. I mean, if someone asked me what would you recommend to anybody that stops using something, I would just say learn to get comfortable in the uncomfort, because it all is anything, life, like you're just saying, Corey, life is, it's out there, it's the world. It's not like you can go hide in this closet or that closet. It's there. So the best thing you can do for yourself is just learn to be able to sit.
Yeah.
I think in terms of, circling back to lies and myths about alcohol, that whole muck that you're about to wade into when you stop, that the myth that I always heard perpetuated was, seriously, life is going to be great for you. It's just going to be so awesome. This is the best thing you'll ever do for yourself, yada, yada, yada. Nobody ever said, but first it's going to suck. Nobody ever
First, it's going to create an existential crisis.
Exactly. Exactly.
Of figuring out who you actually are.
Nobody told me that. Nobody told me that. And, my journey, as y'all know, was absolutely about as nonlinear as it could have been. And part of the reason for that was that nobody told me that. Yeah. Here, go meditate for 20 minutes every day and, your world will be perfect. Well, it so fucking wasn't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I did the path for a year where I was like, oh, that's what this is.
Another one of our sponsors, Jenny Smith, Annie Grace, the Path program, in addition to Peloton and Olipop.
But yeah, I had to recognize that life was lifey, and that actually is normal. It's not abnormal.
Right.
So
yeah, you know what? So I was okay sitting with myself. So okay, I was ready to deal with that. Deal with me. I don't know what version of me that was. But as a people pleaser, I struggled seeing how everybody around me was uncomfortable. That's what I struggled with. So I could sit there and be uncomfortable with me and go to bed like I did and do all those things. But watching people around me struggle, that is what triggered things in myself. Like I found that challenging, because now it's like, it's funny because it's like, as much as people like this new version, again, they're not used to being uncomfortable. So they don't know, oh my God, what does this new version mean? What does this mean about my relationship with her? What does this mean about my friendship, my marriage, my mom, my business? Like they, like all of their, like I could see it. I felt it from them. Right. And then it was like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? I'm starting this journey that I'm happy, but now it's creating all of this for them, which now scares me. So you can't, like, you can go through that too.
And now, do you kind of like it when they get uncomfortable?
You know what?
Yeah,
they're
exactly
used to it now. But see, it's a blessing because they're learning to be in uncomfort. Which again, no one volunteers and say, okay, I want to be uncomfortable today. Give it to me. But they're learning and they're seeing like, oh my God, it's okay. I don't know. I'm so happy that I am where I am with all my relationships and all of that. But it was challenging.
I was thinking that same thing, Corey, that you said is like, that is almost a whole different level of knowing yourself so much to be like, I don't care what that person thinks, like that's Jedi mastery that Agnes is talking about getting to, is like, you can still be empathetic and be like, oh, I might be making that person uncomfortable, but then you're like, oh, well, this is who I am.
And you can like see them get uncomfortable. Like, even if they're doing a really good job of pretending, they'll just start talking about shit, like about how healthy they are, or, like, oh, I only drink, a glass of wine. And like, they just start saying random stupid shit. And
Corey,
you're just like,
Corey, you are enjoying that too much, aren't you?
Yeah. It's like, a little bit. And then you get them to be like, I have a Corvette. Like, Jesus, Corey.
And it's like, and then you pull out your book, Corey, about nutrition. Woo, let's go. Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Yeah. I make people uncomfortable in all kinds of levels, so I've just really embraced
That's another sponsor of our podcast, Brian.
Corey McClure, Transformational Wellness.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with all this money? Buy microphones and headphones and edit.
Can I just actually say the opposite there as well? It's also true, because I was convinced my life would be boring as fuck, basically, when I stopped drinking. I didn't do anything unless I had a drink. If there wasn't a drink involved, I wouldn't go. It's simple as that. What was the point? So, having now been away 5 times in 15 months, alcohol-free, it's just not true.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
That's true.
So much better.
We almost made it sound like it sucks. But then there's a part that you get to where, okay, it does suck. And it still sometimes really sucks, right? That's how life works. Yep. But now it's like, I'm so curious to figure it out. Like my path is like this. What are all those stories that I've told myself over the years, and how can I deconstruct them to be like who I really am? To me now, I'm almost obsessed with getting, working towards that. So once you almost shift it to a curiosity versus a pain, your mindset kind of changes on it, maybe.
And I find that at least I just feel so much more connected to the world and people, all of that numbing, does its job. You just feel so disconnected, and you are numb to everything. And now, good, bad, or indifferent, you really are more connected. And so, and sometimes that's more painful because you are more connected, but a lot of times it's so much better because you actually are like enjoying people's company genuinely. Yeah, you're exactly.
Yeah, look at Sammy's life right now.
Yeah.
Sammy says from Bali.
I found so many sets of swings in Bali in the last 2.5 weeks that I've swung on every single bloody one of them. And I spoke to my sister and I was like, she's like, my God, you look so happy singing. She's like, I haven't heard you laugh like that in ages. And that's it. It's just funny. It's just sitting on the swing.
Yeah, Agnes mentioned it too. I mean, it's like, I'm so damn happy. Who cares? I'm like, yeah.
I wish I could count how many times Sammy has said to me, you know what? If I was still drinking, I wouldn't be having. I mean, just the joy of every breath she's taking. If I was still I can't tell you how many times she said that to me.
Yeah,
she would have ridden the Komodo dragon.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got to tell you this as well. I have got to tell you this. So when we were on the beach and they were doing the fire show, and the people are twirling full-on bits of fire and all that. Well, obviously there was a Brit who'd obviously had too much to drink, who decided to just go up and try and light his fag whilst the bloke was twirling it, and he didn't know he was there. And how he didn't full-on catch on fire, I do not know.
Gosh.
Literally,
just for our English audience, a fag is a cigarette. Dear Lord, Sammy, you're going to get us canceled.
In case there's any translation needed.
I know, it's like tried to go light, took his little...
Oh my God, that's brilliant. A cigarette. You went to buy a cigarette.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, but the fireman, bless him, apologised to the bloke for nearly setting him on light. And it's like, well, hello, I think it wasn't really your fault. Crazy.
Oh my God. Oh, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And obviously,
It's time to go around the table. Do we want to do that again?
What are
That
we
was
doing?
fun.
Yeah, sure. What are
Takeaways.
Takeaways. Oh, takeaways.
Oh,
Yeah.
takeaways.
Go around the table.
Are we done already? Wow.
I know. That was fun. We should do this again.
We're doing takeaways from today. That's what we're doing?
Yeah.
No, Judy, takeaways from 4 weeks ago. Yes,
Yeah.
Great.
This was the go around the table concept that we had discussed doing.
Okay, I'll start, basically. So my main ones would be, by the end of it, if there was an A in the day, it was a reason to shrink. My anxiety was a major thing for me. My undiagnosed ADHD, probably a major thing for me. And trying to turn just my head off. But bottom line is, by the time I was trying to give up drinking, if there was an A in the day, it was a reason to drink. So that's just where it was. And yes, it is very uncomfortable to try and be still and be with yourself. But you know what? When you get through that, life's fucking awesome, and it is a lot more fun. And you remember it all, and it's a lot less stressful.
I think mine is I'm still really angry at how much misinformation is out there. It irks me viscerally every time I see. I mean, we don't have billboards in Maine, thank God. But when I travel in other states and see billboards, absolute vodka, blah, 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 all of it. I get viscerally angry, not just annoyed, but angry at this idea that perpetuates the notion that I am not enough just as I am, and I need this to be better. And just all of that is such bullshit. And I'm so grateful for the knowledge I have now and the life I have now. So grateful.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jenny, on the viscerally angry a lot of times about just the misinformation from industry, and then the way in which we perpetuate it, amongst and within ourselves. And it is so frustrating. I mean, I have been on the struggle bus the last few days about just this very thing, because it's just so frustrating, and it can make you feel so beaten down sometimes. But like Sammy was saying, also, like, when you have like come to, yourself, your true self, and like, the highs are super high and it's awesome. And, I've never experienced that in all of my drinking days, in my decades of drinking and numbing. So yeah, as pissed off and stuff as I can get, and totally frustrated and beaten down, I'd never give it up, right? Like, how could I ever not be myself ever again?
Yeah, I definitely echo all of that. Education is super important. That's for sure. So that just makes me think of, again, it's like, this should be in schools. This should be all of that. Like, start with the young, not, yeah, it's really the young. Like, it's okay. Like, you don't need to have that drink because that's what you see on TV, or, that's what your parents did, or somebody else, or it doesn't matter. So I think that is it. But when you stop drinking, like, and I guess maybe this is where, again, that education of, there is just such freedom to be alcohol free, and knowing that you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay no matter what. And everyone around you is going to be okay. Everyone's on their own paths. You don't need to fix anybody. You don't need to people please. You don't need to do anything. No one's broken. Everyone is okay. And we'll all get through life somehow. And it's just so much better when you're not numbing, no matter what it is you're numbing it with, when you're not numbing, once you get past that transitional part, that rocky part, it definitely is better.
Yeah, and just to jump off what Agnes is saying, my big thing is life is up and life is down. I mean, life is just life. But when it's down, well, obviously, if you're not drinking, the highs are much more fun, much more enjoyable, much more tangible. But it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're drinking, the downs are worse, right? I mean, the downs are worse. So
100%.
you might just as well not drink, because your chances of success in getting through those downs, as much as you think, oh my gosh, I can't do it, you're going to really do it faster, even though it doesn't feel like it, because you're going to feel it more and you're just going to process it much quicker. Yeah. And
that choose your hard, isn't it?
What's that?
Yeah.
That Coach Shelley says it does. Choose your hard. You know, the hard of staying stuck drinking, and choose your hard. The hard of stopping and seeing what's on the other side.
And your chances of success are way better if you got your wits about you.
I think the one for me is this kind of meeting people where they are type conversation where, you know, the podcast that I was on with Annie a few weeks ago, I kind of released that to the world, and I heard from a ton of people, and I think that concept of like, there's so many people out there that do feel stuck, that feel like they're just in this stupid cycle of whatever, and we never want to start with something, to me, like alcohol, you know, because even like nutrition programs, exercise programs, and all of that don't start there, right? It's like, and I just think it's one to consider of like, hey, what would happen if we took that away for a little bit, or just become aware of the kind of the role it's playing in our lives. Because so many people skip forward, right? Of like, well, what's my life going to be like if I don't drink? And I'm like, just.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Let's just say now that.
Yep.
You know, you're not. You know, something's not right now. You're not happy, right? What if we tried this?
Yeah, because it's usually the last thing we try, right?
Exactly.
What if we try that?
Yeah. But I mean, it affects so many other things that we know, right? It increases the anxiety. It affects our sleep. You know, it throws so many of the other kind of pillars of health off kilter. So to me, starting there is sometimes a really nice place for people. Yep. It changed everything for me. That was my start. So.
That's a great point.
I just wanted to really quickly mention, though, just on a positive. So as a Brit, I love watching rugby, and the latest Six Nations was sponsored by Guinness Zero, which was really nice to see.
Yeah.
So there is definitely
that's just another good point.
Stuff that's coming in that's not all about the drinking. You know, the last World Cup was in a country where there was no alcohol. You know, which I thought was hilarious. I mean, people were up in arms, but.
That's a really good point. That the education piece is starting to get, like, as angry as we are, I'm included in that. That there's information out there that's false. The narrative is starting to change, that you can see, right? I certainly, and maybe it's just what we pay attention to, but there's a lot more, you know, non-drinkers out there publicly than there used to be when we were all locked away anonymously, right?
Mm-hmm. Through that.
Yeah, and I think on the side note as well, because you've got like the women's rugby teams and stuff. There's a lot of families that go, so it's not about going and drinking. It's, you know, you've got young kids and mums and stuff that are going and watching these events, and it's I think a lot. I've seen quite a difference over here at those sorts of games.
Hey, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If something we said resonated, made you laugh, or made you think, we'd love it if you share it with someone who might need it too. And if you're curious about going alcohol-free or just ready to feel more connected to yourself, check out This Naked Mind. Annie's work brought us all together, and we're so grateful for the impact it's had. On that note, a big thank you to Annie Grace and This Naked Mind for making this podcast possible. We'll see you next time on This Naked Chat.